Hey folks, where did all the buyers go? Welcome back. I have your latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto, and I'm wondering, where did all the buyers go? Okay, before I get going with this latest market report, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, excuse me, hit the bell button so you're reminded when his videos come up, share it with your friends, and please comment below. I love to read your comments, no matter how wild some of them are. Okay, so let me talk about what's going on. Now, when I say where did all the buyers go, it's not just because of the data, it's also because of my experience as a full-time realtor. I'm working with buyers and sellers every single day. So my experience over this past week, I can feel a shift out there. In working with my buyer clients, I'm seeing that properties are on the market a little bit longer. I'm seeing more properties that have traditional pricing. What I mean is they don't have an offer date where you're going to go and compete, but they have a price, and you can kind of, it's priced kind of around where the previous property sold at, and we can negotiate down. I'm seeing more of those. Not a ton, but more than before. Certainly more than before. And those ones that do have an offer date, I'm seeing less people at the table that we're competing with. So that's a big change. And working with my sellers, well, it's the same thing, just the opposite. I'm seeing less people coming for showings. I'm seeing offer night where there's still some good offers there. There's still some buyers prepared to pay, but we're not seeing the 10, 15 offers. We're seeing 3 and 4 people on offer night. So I'm wondering, where did all the buyers go? Let me get into the data. You're going to ask the same thing. So when I've got here for the City of Toronto, detached properties only, so just the City of Toronto detached for week ending May 26th. If we look at average sold price, well, it went up slightly from the previous week. The average detached in the City of Toronto sold for $1,688,000. So that's up a little bit, depending on which side of the fence you're on. It's good news or bad news. I'm not saying either way. I'm just reporting it to you. When we look at overall, we can say that the May, because we're kind of right at the end of May here, we can say that the May average sold price is slightly lower than the April average sold price. And the April average sold price is slightly lower than the March average sold price. Let's look at sales though. We sold 249 detached properties in the City of Toronto last week. Now that's a big drop from the previous week. Did the holiday Monday have something to do with that? I don't know. But when we look at overall, we can say that the May sales figures are slightly lower than the April sales figures. And the April sales figures are slightly lower than the March sales figure. It kind of feels like it's slowly. Well, I'm not talking about we've fallen off a cliff. I'm not using the word crash for nothing. However, it's just calming down more at a steady pace. I'm talking like the market's happening. It's at a steady pace. Comparing to last year, well, it's difficult to do that, but we're way ahead of where we were at last year's average sold price. So looking at sales here, 249, 72% sold at list price or more. So the market is still active, but to sell at list price or more, you just need one buyer. And what I'm seeing from working with my buyer clients, I'd mentioned, there's less people showing up at offer night, but there are buyers at offer night, just not the 10 and 15 like the crazy days we had a few months ago. It's more 2, 3, 4, and they're prepared to spend a decent amount on the property. Let's look at listings. 484 listings of detached properties last week, which is lower than it's been the last several weeks. Well, that's important to understand. Listings are down, but more important than actual listings is how many property are actually available for sale. How many detached properties, if you were to go out on the market right now and say, I want to buy a detached home in the city of Toronto, well, you've got 1,357 to choose from. So if we back up a little bit, sales are down. Active listings is actually up by almost 350 from the previous week. Sales are down. More properties available for sale. What do you think that does to months of inventory? If you said it goes up, you're right. So months of inventory went from 1 to 1.3. Not a huge change, but it's gone up by 0.3. And normally they've been going up or down by 0.1 or 0.2. So this has now gone up by 0.3. It's not huge, but we're feeling the change. It's still very much a seller's market. However, 1.3 is now getting closer to 2, and let's see what happens over the next few weeks. Looking at semis, months of inventory also went up by 0.3. It's now sitting at 0.9. Average sold price has come way down when it comes to semi. Now, we had a lot fewer sales in the semi department than we had the previous week, where we only sold 82 semis. The previous week was well over 100 semis, 111 I think it was. But sold at list price or more, 77% of those 82 sales were at list price or more. So it's active, there's some competition, but there's more semis to choose from out there. Months of inventory is creeping up. Now, don't be alarmed by this huge price drop here. I don't want you to think that is my semi now worth $200,000 or less. As a realtor, I can tell you this is average. If one of my clients calls me and say, hey, I'm thinking of selling, what's my semis worth? I saw your video, what's going on? Calm, relax. We're going to look at what's happened in your neighborhood, and I think for most part you're going to find prices are strong, higher than they've ever been. But I need to analyze your neighborhood to tell you for sure what a more accurate price for your semi is. Looking at townhouses, we only sold 32 townhouses in all of the city of Toronto last week. Sold at list price or more, also 72% like semi, so it's very competitive, but months of inventory is up. It's now sitting at 0.9. And the average sold price has come down. Now, the previous week average sold price of 1.350, there were 7 townhomes that sold between 2 and 2.9. So that brings the average sold price way up. But 1,237,000 is kind of in line to where the average has been over the last few months. Let's look at condos. Condos is on so many people's minds. Well, average sold price, similar to detached, went up slightly. In this case, it went up by about $5,000 to $715,000 for the average condo sold in the city of Toronto. Well, looking at prices, $715 is kind of in line to where it's been since March. So for the last 3 months, average sold price for condos has been pretty steady. Look at sales. Well, sales went down to 324. Sales has come way down from the previous week. Well, why are sales so low? When we look at May sales, they're much lower than April. April sales are lower than March, and it should be going up. Typically, when I say it should be, because that's what typically happens as we kind of get into the spring market and into the warmer months. Now, they're lower. The amount of condos selling at $1 million or more are lower, where we sold 32, where the previous week we sold 40. All these things are happening. Why are they so low? Where did all the buyers go? Let's see. Compared to last year, in a lot of the home types, I'm not comparing to last year because of our lockdown, our very first lockdown last year at this time, and nobody knew what to do. But we're not that far off from where we were during our first lockdown last year. So here we go. Sales are much lower than what they've been in weeks. 60% of those 324 condos sold at list price or more. So it's competitive, but not as competitive as the detached market. Listings. So listings are lower. So sales are much lower. Listings are lower. However, active listings is still sitting at 2,000. It's a little bit lower than last week's active listings, but 2,223. Let's see what happens with months of inventory. It's, relatively speaking, it's way up. It's sitting at 1.6. And I say relatively speaking because 1.6 is still very low overall months of inventory. But compared to where it was before at 0.8, 0.9, and 1, 1.6 is a big jump. And usually, as months of inventory goes up, prices tend to come down. Well, here they went up slightly. And we're still a long way for it being a balanced market and way far from being a buyer's market, which is more than 6 months of inventory. But 1.6, we're seeing more condos available for sale. We're seeing less competition. There's less condos being purchased. This is kind of, I think for the last few weeks, as we see things calming down, this is kind of starting to be the theme over the next little while here. So as a summary, if you're looking to summarize the whole market, and we look at months of inventory, we got detached, semis, towns, and condos. These arrows tell me versus the previous week, which way did months of inventory go? And months of inventory has increased right across the board. So all the home types, there's more to choose from. Market's a little bit calmer. I'm giving you this information because you can keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening out there. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, if you need any help real estate-wise, please give me a call. My name is Santo Sessa with RE/MAX Premier. Hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great day.